Hi guys, this is Henry here, or Prince of Discs, whatever number I've chose to put. I'm here to introduce my new book, Tarot and the Path of Initiation. Yes, it's finally out. I've been working this for a year, 6 months writing, and a few months of editing and publishing it. This is a self-published book, so all the editing was done by me. So if there are like a few errors here and there, sorry, but this is my first book, and I've never had any sort of English literature experience whatsoever. About this book, basically many people find this book practically impossible to understand. What I've basically done, because this doesn't explain all the beginner stuff, it assumes you know all that, and it just goes on to the more advanced knowledge on it. So most people who learn this book have to go back and read about 4 or 5 other books before they then start to know what this means. I've actually got them here. Let me show you. There we go. 1, 2. There we go. And yeah, so these are books that you really need to understand the Book of Thoth. I actually first started with Tree of Life by Israel Gadi, which explains, I know, ceremonial magic in general, why we do it, what's the point. And we have Dion Fortress Mystical Kabbalah, everything you sort of need to know about the Kabbalah and all that stuff. I have this book on astrology, actually, and I forgot to... This is not any of the official stuff, but I use this book, Astrology at the Speed of Light, to understand astrology. And we have Crow's own book, Magic Without Tears, which is his sort of beginner's guide to Thelema and magic. So, I've basically condensed these 4 books into about 100 pages, which is wasn't that easy a feat, frankly. So I've put in here all you sort of need to know to then understand this stuff. So that is the first half of my book. And then the second half is kind of, if you're at all familiar with most tarot books, is the commentary on the cards, what each thing means. So I've done that in my own interpretation, as well as I continually reference this book because it is Crowley's deck, and if someone writes a Thoth tarot book that doesn't reference this, ignore it, burn it, it's useless. Anyway, I was about to say, I mean, if you're at all familiar with Lon Milo Duquette's book, it's kind of similar to his, but I like to think I go into a lot more detail. I don't feel Lon Duquette's book says anything that's not already in here. Right. So if you notice when you read my book, I don't reference Lon Duquette's book at all. What was I about to say? So the structure of the book. So first half, all the beginner stuff. I would say it's an easier read than this, but it takes a while because it's just so much stuff. I mean, condensing this into that wasn't easy. So that's the first half of my book, and then you'll find that the second half I actually start with the minors. The reason why I did that is because I find in most tarot books, when you read through, because they always start with the majors, chords, then minors. By the time you finish the major cards, which is usually the most interesting, and then you're halfway through the chord, and by then you're already bored. I mean, I rarely ever get up to the minor cards in most tarot books. I just like, screw it. What else? But yeah, this is my book. If you really want to, for all the people who want to understand this deck, there you go, the Thoth Tarot is my one. if you want to understand this deck properly, and this book confuses the hell out of you, this is a good alternative. Okay. What I would say is that I would recommend that people read this book first. You're not going to get it, but by reading it, you'll know what you need to know. Well, after you read that, then read mine. That explains it in a lot more detail. I really took a huge effort to spoon feed everything you need to know. What else? Yes, but if you really just can't plow through this one for whatever reason, then by all means just go for it with my book. And the aim was just to save a lot of legwork, and I think it took me like half a year to read all of these. So I'm just condensed into one to make it a lot easier, hopefully. This isn't the be all and end all, or don't completely replace this with my book, because obviously Crowley wrote this at the end of his life, so he's put all of his knowledge into this, right? Whilst I'm a relative beginner. That goes into another point. I mean, the good thing about my book is that I wrote it as a beginner, right? I was learning as I wrote. I think the problem with stuff like Crowley and most other experts, shall we say, is that they, they're writing after years of experience. They can't really write in a language that other beginners can understand. So this is me going from a beginner to, slightly more advanced, and I can, the learning process is fresh in my mind whilst I was writing this. So I think this is a lot easier for most people to understand. So yes, I think that's all well and good. What were the other points I wanted to make? Sorry, check my notes. So reference. Oh yeah, one more point I had to make. This is all about the theory of the Thoth Tarot. I don't list out any spreads or anything, simply because it's massive enough as it is. It's bigger than Crowley's own book.